What is going on, everybody? Nick Costa here, and welcome to this video lesson on the 11-stroke roll. This is rudiment number 12 from the Percussive Art Society's 40 Essential Rudiments. If you have been following the Drum Essentials series at nickcostamusic.com, this is video number 15. So in this lesson, you are going to learn how to play the 11-stroke roll. You are then going to play through a few exercises that will allow you to incorporate it into your playing. Finally, you'll see some examples on how to execute it as part of a groove or a fill here on the drum kit. I'm excited to get into this with all of you, so let's get started. Now, if you are following the Drum Essentials series at nickcostamusic.com, you've already watched the video on the 5, the 7, and the 9-stroke roll. You've already noticed that in order to go from one to the next, you just add another set of doubles to it. A 5-stroke roll, you have 2 sets of doubles followed by a tap. A 7-stroke roll, you have 3 sets of doubles followed by a tap. And a 9-stroke roll, you have 4 sets of doubles followed by a tap. Now, in order to play an 11-stroke roll, you now have 5 sets of doubles followed by a tap. So if you wanted to make this a right-handed 11-stroke roll, you would have right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, tap. If you wanted to make it a left-handed 11-stroke roll, you would have left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, tap. So for this first exercise, you are going to play the 11-stroke roll in an 8th note subdivision. So you are going to start out by playing a right-handed 11-stroke roll for the first measure. You'll notice that that last tap is on beat 2 of the second measure, and you're going to rest for beats 3 and 4. For the third measure, you're going to start your 11-stroke roll with your left hand. You'll notice that that last tap is on beat 2 of the fourth measure, and again, you're going to rest on beats 3 and 4. Going to put the click on at 80 BPM. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Moving on to exercise 2, you're now going to play that 11-stroke roll in a 16th note subdivision. So for the first measure, you're going to play a right-handed 11-stroke roll. You'll notice that that tap is now on the end of beat 3. You will rest for beat 4. Now for the second measure, you're going to play a left-handed 11-stroke roll. And again, that tap is on the end of beat 3. You will again rest for beat 4. And just like all of the other rolls, try to accent the last note. Clicks going back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Moving on to exercise 3, you are now going to play the 11-stroke roll in the subdivision that was written out by the Percussive Art Society. So for this first measure, you're going to play a right-handed 11-stroke roll. You're going to notice that that tap is on the E of beat 2. You're going to rest for the remainder of that measure. For the second measure, play a left-handed 11-stroke roll. Again, that tap is on the E of beat 2, and you're going to rest for the remainder of the measure. Going to put the click back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Now for exercise 4, you are going to play 5 11-stroke rolls in a row. By playing 5 11-stroke rolls in a row, you're going to continue this pattern through 2 measures. So for the first 2 measures, play your 5 11-stroke rolls in a row. You'll notice that the tap of that 5th roll is on the E of beat 4 of your second measure. You then have an 8th note rest at the end of that second measure. Starting on the 3rd measure, you're going to play 5 left-handed 11-stroke rolls in a row. Again, that tap of the last roll is on the E of beat 4 of your 4th measure, and you have an 8th note rest at the end of that measure. Going to put the click on, play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Now that you've had a chance to play through a few exercises to get comfortable with the sticking pattern, this is a perfect time in the video to pause the lesson and really work on your 11-stroke roll. Just like all of the other rolls, you want to make sure that you're staying nice and relaxed, your doubles are open, and that you can accent that last note of the roll. So go ahead and work on your 11-stroke roll, making sure you cover those 3 points, and once you do, hit continue. Okay, welcome back. It is time to put that 11-stroke roll into context. So for exercise number 5, you are playing the rhythm of 1, E, 3 E, and a 4. Starting on beat 1 of the first measure, play a right-handed 11-stroke roll. Starting with your right hand, you are going to alternate those 16th notes starting on beat 3, and you have a right-handed tap on beat 4. For the second measure, you're going to play a left-handed 11-stroke roll, and starting with your left hand, you're going to alternate for the 16th notes on beat 3, and you have a left-handed tap on beat 4. Clicks going back on. Play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... Now for exercise 6, you are playing the rhythm of 1 and 2, E, 4, and a. Starting with your right hand on the first measure, you're going to alternate for those first 2 eighth notes. You are then going to play a right-handed 11-stroke roll starting on beat 2. You'll notice the tap of that roll is the E of beat 3. Starting with your right hand, you are going to alternate that 8th note, 16th note pattern starting on beat 4. For the second measure, starting with your left hand, you're going to alternate for those 2 8th notes on beat 1. You're then going to play a left-handed 11-stroke roll starting on beat 2. Notice that the tap of that roll is on the E of beat 3. And starting with your left hand, you're going to alternate for that 8th note, 16th note pattern on beat 4. Turning the click back on, play along with me. 1, 2, ready, and... So now that you've had a chance to play through a few exercises incorporating the 11-stroke roll into your playing, it is time for the challenge. Just like every other challenge, this is going to allow you to work on this rudiment as well as reintroduce some rudiments that were covered in earlier videos from the Drum Essentials series. Just like every other challenge, you are going to play a rhythm and you're going to have the opportunity to start it with both your right and your left hand. This challenge is 12 measures long. For the first 2 measures, you are playing the rhythm of 1, E and a 3 E and a 4 and. You're going to play a right-handed 11-stroke roll starting on beat 1. The tap of that roll is the E of beat 2. You're then going to play a right-handed paradiddle diddle starting on the end of beat 2. Finally, you'll play a right-handed 5-stroke roll starting on beat 4. For the second measure, start out with a left-handed 11-stroke roll. Again, that tap is going to be on the E of beat 2. Play a left-handed paradiddle diddle starting on the end of beat 2. And a left-handed 5-stroke roll starting on beat 4. Here's what those 2 measures sound like together. 1, E and a 3 E and a 4 and. 1, E and a 3 E and a 4 and. Now for measures 3 and 4, you are playing the rhythm of 1, E and a 4 E and a. Starting on this third measure, you are going to play a right-handed 11-stroke roll on beat 1. Play another right-handed 11-stroke roll on the end of beat 2. You are then going to play a single right-handed paradiddle on beat 4. For the fourth measure, play a left-handed 11-stroke roll on beat 1, another left-handed 11-stroke roll on the end of beat 2, and a left-handed single paradiddle on beat 4. Here's what those 2 measures sound like together. 1, E and a 4 E and a. 1, E and a 4 E and a. Now for measures 5 and 6, you are playing the rhythm of 1 and 2, E, 4, a. You're going to play a right-handed 5-stroke roll on beat 1. You are then going to play a left-handed 11-stroke roll on beat 2. You're then going to play a left-handed 7-stroke roll on beat 4. For measure 6, you're going to play a left-handed 5-stroke roll on beat 1, a right-handed 11-stroke roll on beat 2, and a right-handed 7-stroke roll on beat 4. Here's what those 2 measures sound like together. 1 and 2, E, 4, a. 1 and 2, E, 4, a. Now measure 7 through 10, you are playing a 2-bar loop. So the rhythm for those 2 measures is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. So for the 7th measure, you're going to play a right-handed single paradiddle on beat 1, followed by a left-handed single paradiddle on beat 2. You are then going to play a 11-stroke roll starting on beat 3. You're going to start a right-handed single paradiddle on the end of beat 4. You are then going to play a left-handed single paradiddle on the end of beat 1 of this 8th measure. And you're going to play a 11-stroke roll starting on the end of beat 2. You are then going to have a quarter note rest on beat 4. For the 9th measure, you're going to start out with a left-handed single paradiddle, followed by a right-handed single paradiddle. You are then going to play an 11-stroke roll starting on beat 3. You are then going to start a left-handed single paradiddle on the end of beat 4. Play a right-handed single paradiddle starting on the end of beat 1 of the 10th measure, and a left-handed 11-stroke roll starting on the end of beat 2. Again, you have a quarter note rest on beat 4. Here's what those 4 measures sound like together. 1 E end a 2 E end a 3 E end a 1 E end a 2 E end 1 E end a 2 E end a 3 E end a 1 E end a 2 E end Now for measures 11 and 12, you are playing the rhythm of 1 E end a 4 end. For the 11th measure, play a right-handed 11-stroke roll starting on beat 1. Play another right-handed 11-stroke roll starting on the end of beat 2. You are then going to play a right-handed 5-stroke roll on beat 4. For the 12th measure, you have a left-handed 11-stroke roll starting on beat 1, another left-handed 11-stroke roll starting on the end of beat 2, and a left-handed 5-stroke roll on beat 4. Here's what those 2 measures sound like together. 1 E end a 4 end. 1 E end a 4 end. So now that you've had a chance to play through all of the different patterns, it is time to piece it all together. But this is a challenge, right? So let's up that metronome to 110 BPM and give it a shot. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. Now, just like all of the other drum roll challenges, if you feel yourself tensing up in your arms, your wrists, your hands, or your fingers, it may just be a little bit too quick for you. Again, speed is not the end game here, it's consistency and accuracy. And especially while you are playing these drum rolls, make sure your doubles are open rather than crushed. You also want to make sure that you get those accents out for those last taps throughout any of your drum rolls. So if you felt any type of tension, you noticed that your doubles were a little bit crushed, or maybe you were missing out on those accents, slow the metronome down a little bit until you can play it nice and relaxed and have all of those things happen. Once you can play through that a few times, then up the metronome by 5 clicks, try it again. Repeat that process until you can get up to that 110 BPM or possibly even faster. So now that you've had a chance to play through the challenge, let's talk about executing as part of a groove or a fill on the drum kit. This is the part of the lesson where you get to improve on your improvisational and musicianship skills. Now, although I want you to be creative, here are just a few examples just to get you started. So to recap, in this lesson you learned how to play the 11-stroke roll. You started out in an 8th note subdivision, worked your way up to a 16th note subdivision, and then played it at the correct subdivision like it's written out for the Percussive Arts Society. From there you played through a few exercises that allowed you to incorporate that 11-stroke roll into your playing. And then finally you saw some examples on how to execute it as part of a groove or a fill on the drum kit. As always, if you have any questions, reach out to me at nickcostamusic.com and I'll try and help out any way that I can. If you like this lesson, make sure you check out the Drum Essentials series at nickcostamusic.com, where you'll see lessons just like this on all 40 drum rudiments from the Percussive Arts Society. You'll also see some lessons on technique fundamentals and drum set fundamentals. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hopefully you've learned something from it, and until next time, see you later.